I've taken over Steve's account here, and I'm going to be doing a really cool demo. So I want to just say, Steve, thank you so much for organizing this event, and thank you for allowing me to take over your login. And I'm excited to do this. I'm going to be talking about how to start a podcast in 30 minutes. Yes, I'm going to do a live demo. It's a little crazy, but I'm going to do a live demo on how to walk through all the steps from creating artwork to making a website to publishing, all in 30 minutes. So I'm just going to give people a minute or so to kick in. And if someone can just confirm that they can hear me all right, that would be awesome, just in case I'm talking to myself. Awesome. All right, Will's saying it's all good. It's all good. Loud and clear. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So I'm really excited about this talk because podcast day is about bringing awareness to podcasting. And, one of the things that I like to do is the tech stuff. Like, I love the tech stuff and I love automation, et cetera. But what I find is people are intimidated to start with podcasting because it can seem a little intimidating because a lot of steps involved. So I wanted to do it literally a full-on 30 minutes. I'm going to talk for about 10 minutes and go share my screen and walk through all the steps and just show people that it's not too bad. Like, you can get started very easily and then you can get better. The key is that you start now and you improve as you go along. Don't wait until everything's perfect, till you have the right headphones, the right microphone, the right products. That doesn't really matter. Your content is really what matters. So yeah, so I don't know, maybe we just jump right into it just because we have 1 hour time slot and I want to budget a few minutes in case things do go wrong, but this will be a live demo. So quick introduction, my name is Henry Mora, and I've been involved in the podcasting for about 3 years now, 2.5 years, 3 years. And kind of where I fit in is I have a podcast player software, an automation software and a podcast player for WordPress. So I've been involved. Before I got into that, I was helping a lot of podcasters, launch their podcasts, get their podcast on their website. So I learned the ropes, and I got into software, which is kind of one of my favorite tools to help people in the podcasting space. So the product is the Simple Podcast Press, and actually one of the sponsors of this event. And I'm really excited because I think what Steve and Dave are doing is awesome, because podcasting is a great platform to get your message out. And having an event like this, running 30 hours of continuous live stream is just mind blowing. I don't know how these guys do it. I don't know how they organize it, but it just brings so much awareness to this great platform. So I'm just going to jump right in. So what is a podcast? For anyone who doesn't know, I'm sure a lot of people know, but for those who are just kind of joining in and want to learn about podcasting, podcast is simply your own radio station online. And a podcast is made up of two key components. You have your audio file, typically audio file. It can be video, but audio is probably the more easily consumed, the more popular form of podcasting. And you have an audio file that you have to put somewhere, got to host it somewhere. And we don't recommend hosting on your own website. There's a lot of reasons against that. But you do want to have a dedicated hosting company for your podcast. And the next piece is what kind of people trip over a little bit, is what's called a podcast feed. Is all it is simply it's just a file that tells iTunes, it tells Google Play, it tells all the directories that you have a new episode, where they can get the audio file from, what's the title, what's the description. So it's a file that kind of updates itself as it goes, and it just tells your directories where and when a new episode is launched. So that's basically it. Besides that, it's an audio file, right? It's an audio file, and you have a nice, simple way to consume it. So having a podcast feed allows people to listen more easily. Hey, Jason. And so what I mean by listen more easily, they can have iPhone apps, Google Android apps that let you go and subscribe to a podcast. So what they're doing is they're connecting their feed, adding it to their podcast app. And what that does is every time you launch a new episode, they get notified right away. So that's good for you as a producer. It's good for them as a listener, because they want to know as soon as a new episode comes out and that you are going to be Like they want to be the first to listen to it. I know myself, like it's kind of addictive. I listen to podcasts and I'm hooked. Like if they're late, if they don't come out on the same day, or almost the same time that I'm used to listening to, I'm already tweeting. I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? No episode today. So listeners get hooked, myself included. So it's good to be consistent with your podcast. So this whole mechanism of a feed is great. So people can subscribe to it really, really easily, whether it's on their desktop or on their mobile device. And starting a podcast is a whole bunch of steps. I'm going to talk over the steps in general. I'm also going to talk over very detailed. I'm going to walk through a lot of the tools, but really the key thing I want to get across before I get into the steps is you are going to be creating awesome content. That's the bottom line. It's not about the headset. It's not about the microphone. It's not about all that. That stuff can get better. It can improve over time. It's about having good content that people want to hear, your audience wants to hear, whether you're storytelling, whether you're kind of establishing yourself as an expert in a certain field, or whatever it is you're trying to do. You want to have great content, whether it's entertaining, educational, or usually a little bit of both, right? All right, and if you don't have any microphones or anything, you can really get started with a headset. Most people don't really recommend it, but honestly, if you're just getting started, you can get away with just a headset and a nice quiet room, like go into a closet and like put yourself in a small closet and do a recording episode. So yeah, that's it. Let's focus on content, start with simple stuff, and you will get better. You will get better. You can improve your equipment. You can improve your whatever tools you use, your website, etc. So awesome. So I'm going to share my screen. You guys going to give me a quick thumbs up, or let me know if you can see my screen. Whoa, all right. So, we don't need that. And so let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is, actually, before we can do that, I'm going to first talk about the steps. So I'm going to talk about creating a show. I'm going to talk about what you're going to do to create a show. You're going to have to record your episodes. I'm going to show you some tools for that. To publish the episode, add it to your website, submit your podcast to the different directories. So that's the 5 things I'm going to cover. So starting from the top, so you want to create a show. I'm going to talk a little quick because I'm already 10 minutes into it, and then we're very strict on time here, and I respect that. So first thing I want to do is to come up with a title for your episode and just create an artwork for it. And what I'm going to say is I'm going to do this first, just it makes the flow a little nicer. So first tool I love to use, really simple. It's called Canva, canva.com. It's free. I'm just going to go ahead and make a very simple artwork. There's some requirements for artworks for iTunes. It's basically your album cover. So right here in Canva, you can go ahead and click on the album cover template, and it does the minimum size that's required for iTunes, 1400 by 1400. Cool thing about Canva is there's a lot of cool templates, some free, some might cost you $1, but for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to choose this. I'm going to remove that image, and because I'm the one doing the podcast, so I'm going to be throwing a picture of myself in here real quick. And all right, where you go? All right, bear with me here. There's always going to be technical glitches. So take an image, throw it around. I'm just going to show you how fun it is to do this stuff. And then I'm just going to drag this down here and just put a name here, Hanny's Podcast. You can give it a nice little name later, but really I just want to show you how simple this is. And then you can really make it fancy. Add a little filter, make it a little epic, and we are done. So I have artwork done. I'm going to go ahead and download that right now. Download it as a JPEG. Now, one thing about images is this is 1400 pixel by 1400 pixel, which is the minimum required for iTunes. The maximum is 3000 by 3000. But one thing what a lot of people don't notice or they trip up on is if your file size is too big, which bigger images have bigger file size, it might get rejected by iTunes. You may have trouble with your feed slowing down. So I'm going to show you a cool little trick. It's a free site. that is called tinypng.com. So that image I just created, I'm going to drag that right into here, and it's going to do some crunching. So it's about 1 meg to start with. It's compressing it down to 159 kilobytes. And the beauty is I can download this again. So this is my shrunk version, and it's awesome because it's, I'm going to call it shrunk. Also because there's a requirement on iTunes. You cannot have a really big file size. 500 kilobytes is the max. So TinyPNG, great little tool to shrink images for your podcast. All right, so now we have an image, and now we're gonna go actually make a show. So you can host your podcast on there's a lot of services that will do this. There's obviously our sponsors. We have Blueberry, we have Spreaker, Libsyn is also one of the most popular platforms, Blog Talk Radio. There's a lot of platforms, and I'm not here to tell you which one's better than the other, but I do have a Libsyn account, so I'm just going to use Libsyn as just for the part of my demo, but they all are very reputable, very reliable services for hosting your audio, and also they offer services for generating your feed, which are the two pieces you need for your podcast. All right, so I'm just going to find my Libsyn tab here. So I've already started the show. I've deleted all my episodes. This is just my test account. So start a show. You got to go in somewhere and say start new show. But since I already have a show, I'm going to edit my show. All you need is very basic information. Show title, show description, and it creates a web page for you automatically. Libsyn will do this. Add some keywords, some email address, which is good because the email address will go into your feed as well. So if people want to get a hold of you, they can get a hold of you through that email address. One thing to note, though, you can go ahead and replace this with your own website if you already have one. So podcast, for this demo, I have a site that I'm creating called podcast.handymora.com. So I'm going to replace that here. So in my feed, the reference is my website. I don't necessarily want it to go to Libsyn's website. I want it to go to my home base. And then these are the things you can go ahead and add after is some information about URLs for when you submit to different directories. So we're going to skip that for now. And so the last thing I want to do is upload your artwork. You just made an artwork, so I'm going to upload it. So I'm just going to actually go ahead and upload it right now. That's the shrunk version. Yeah, boom, upload. There's my cool little artwork there, and I'm going to hit save. So I've created my show. I don't have any episodes, but I created my show. So we're done step one now. So now it's time to create the actual content. You got to put stuff on your site. You got to, put your episodes. So I'm going to show you real quick some tools. I'd love to show all kinds of tools, and we don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to show something that everyone can relate to. And what I mean by that is there's a software called Audacity, which is a free software that allows you to edit. It's available for Mac and PC. So I'm not an Audacity expert. I'm not going to say I am, but it's a great tool to get started. It's probably not, you can grow out of it and do more advanced stuff. But if you're getting started, just wanted to let you know Audacity is a great tool, because what you can do is you can, right from the app itself, I'm just going to make a new project here. Right from this software that you download to your computer, Mac or PC, you can just hit record and start recording yourself talking. You have a microphone hooked up and you start recording. And it can be as simple as that to start. It can be you in front of the microphone, hitting record on Audacity, recording your episode. That could be simple. Or if you want to get more advanced, like interview styles, a lot of software. I'm going to have a resource file that I'm going to make available on simplepodcastpress.com/podcast day. That's after this session's over. So you can leave your name and email, and I'll let you know where you can get that. So don't worry about all the tools. I'm going to share a lot more tools in a PDF or on the website after this episode replay available. So Audacity is a great tool to get started. Hit record, start talking. You can add music tracks in there for your intro and outro. I'm not going to go ahead and do that. It's going to be a little difficult to do that over here. But what I wanted to show is once you have your episode recorded, you can, you want the recommendations to export it as an MP3 file. That's the most compatible. And you also want to make sure that your you want to, I don't know, people have different thoughts on this. I mean, depending if you're doing a lot of talking, a lot of music based, a lot of music or voice based, you can start with 128 or you can go up to 192 kilobits. But it's the bigger it is, the bigger the file size. And when you pay for these services, you're paying for file size. So 128 is probably a good one to start and try out. If the audio is not very clear, you can slowly crank up the audio quality. So I'm going to hit a file. I'm just going to call this episode 0. I'm just going to save this really quick to my folder here and hit save. One thing I just want to make sure it's recommended to use constant bit rate, not variable. Just keeps that quality more consistent. And hit save. Okay, so there's a step here that you can, what's called metadata. So this tells the app that people are listening on the title, description, and some information about your podcast. So there's you can do this in a couple different places. You can do it right here, and Audacity lets you add the artist name. So I would add, my name, episode 0. And then maybe my podcast name, so Hanny's podcast. You can go in and fill more details, but just get the basic information, your name and episode number, and title as well. Put a title in here, whatever you want to call it, and you can fill in the rest if you want. You don't want to, you don't have to. What this does is it helps the different players actually, like if you're listening on your phone, listening in the car, sometimes the information won't come up from your feed, even though the information is showing up, appears in your feed, which I'm going to show you now when we upload the episode. It's good to have it in metadata as well. So real quick, I just exported this file, and it's an MP3. It's sitting right here on my hard drive. So next step. Oh, sorry, a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I went really quick, but things you want to do in your episode is you want to have a little intro in the beginning, of course. You want to introduce your episode, but don't talk too much in the beginning. People are not here to hear about all the good stuff you're doing. They're here to hear the content of the episode. So you definitely want to introduce the episode, but you want to kind of tell them what they're getting right away. Like, in the first 30 seconds of this episode, you're going to learn about how to do Facebook marketing, or you're going to learn how to start a podcast in 30 minutes. Let them know right away what they're going to get out of it. Right? So if this episode's not for them, you don't want them to stick around necessarily. You don't want to annoy the listener. Tell them what they're getting, and then you also want to send them to your website by telling them that, hey guys, we have full show notes, full summary of all the tools, all the key takeaways from the episode. You can go to hannymora.com/episode1, whatever system you want to use for your website. And so let them know that they can go on your website and listen or re-listen again and get all the resources that you talked about. So they don't feel like they're scrambling or they're trying to remember all these things, or while they're driving, they're trying to write down that cool resource we talked about in episode 0. You tell them right up front, you can go to my website /1 or /episode1 or however naming convention you want, so people know where to listen to that specific episode. And then somewhere in the middle, maybe at the end, you probably want to ask them to subscribe. Like you tell me if you're enjoying the show so far, or you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe on iTunes. And, you go to, and then usually people give them a special link like hannymora.com/iTunes, which will forward them to the iTunes listing, so they can subscribe, and they'll become a subscriber. So they'll know every time you publish a new episode, they'll know what's going on. So I'm just going to take a quick break, a quick second here, just to make sure that, all right, cool. Making sure you guys can still hear me and see me, so there's no issues there. Awesome. All right, so now we've edited our podcast. Now it's time to stick this podcast, upload it, make it available to the world. So how do we do that? So, sorry, before you do that, I mentioned about ID3 tags. All right, so we have an ID3 tag screen that comes up in Audacity. If you're not using Audacity, there's a lot of tools out there, but honestly, one of my favorite tools is to go in and start recording yourself talking. You have a microphone hooked up. So open up in iTunes, double click the file, and then you can just click on this little ... and get the info, and You can type in all this stuff here as well. And if you have artwork as well, if you have custom episode artwork, you can choose to upload that here as well. So again, these are not mandatory, but they're recommended steps. The artwork is nice to have, but at least you want to have the name of the show, name of the podcast, and the artist as well. So again, iTunes is a free tool. You can use that to create some of the ID3 tags for you. All right, next, you want to get this podcast onto out to the world. So you want to upload it. So in my case, just again to recap, I'm using Libsyn, but the other services out there, Spreaker, Blueberry, there's a lot of services out there that can host your podcast and take care of your feed for you. So but the process is very simple. So in here, under Libsyn, I'm going to say add new episode. And the first thing it's going to ask me is to upload that file. So I'm going to upload the file from my hard drive. Now, let me show you a cool thing that Libsyn added pretty recently is I don't know if you noticed that when I click upload, they have a thing to populate the form with my ID3 data. So what that means is it'll take the title description, it'll take some of the information that's in the ID3 tags we just created and automatically put them in the detail. It just fills it for you automatically below, so it just saves you a step. You still recommend it to go back in there and update it, but it'll save you a few minutes. So I would like to check that option. Upload hard drive. Again, I just pick episode 0, just real quick here. Okay, so it's uploading pre-show, so I fill out the title for me. The description I have to fill in myself, and that's pretty much the title, what I had in there. So I have just a little, to save time here, I have a little snippet of text to drop in. So you want to introduce the show, you want to talk a little bit about, maybe you have a sponsor, maybe mention the sponsor. One thing I like to do is put these key takeaways, which makes the listening experience a lot nicer. So people can jump to that certain time. Like they can scrub to it with their finger on their iPhones or Android phones, or if they're on your website, they can go across and listen to specific times so they can learn about specific things without having to re-listen to an episode. And a little bit later on, I'll show you a cool little benefit of having these time codes in here, and when they appear on your website, this is something pretty cool with one of the softwares I'm going to show you. But I'll save that for later. So if you have an opportunity, add 2, 3, 5 key takeaways, and it just helps people know where to listen and jump around the audio when they're re-listening the second time. All right, so we did this. Now, one cool thing is I like to have a thumbnail. Thumbnail is basically an episode, and what they call thumbnail here is basically an episode-specific artwork. This is great if you're doing guests. It's always great. So I'm gonna do it real quick just for here. But I'm going to. You can just use this again. You can use Canva. I'm just gonna duplicate this real quick. Duplicate this page, and I kind of was playing around here. I got a picture of Dave. I'm gonna add him right here as my guest. Simple as that. I can say this is episode 0, just as an example. So keep it simple, make it consistent with your artwork if you want. There's no rules here, but if you're doing a guest, I'm gonna go ahead and just drop their face in there, put their episode, all that good stuff. So it's good. It's a good idea to do that if you're doing guest based. Even if you're not, you can put the title into the title of the episode, maybe something interesting about that episode. So you can have some artwork in your podcast feed, and depending on your player or who's consuming your feed, whatever app you're using, it may or may not use that artwork in your feed. But it doesn't hurt to have it in there anyways. So it's doing its magic here, downloading. All right, so it's gonna move it somewhere so I don't lose it. All right, so I'm gonna make just rename it quickly and move it to my folder. So back on to here, I'm just gonna upload it just like I did with the artwork for my show. I'm gonna upload an episode thumbnail for my guest for episode 0, Dave. Okay. while it's doing that, you choose a category that you apply for your podcast, keywords, and that. Those are not super important because iTunes is not really looking at keywords anymore, but it doesn't hurt to put some keywords in here. But again, optional. But from a simplistic point of view, you're done. Even the artwork is optional. So you just put a title and a little description, and you point to the file, which is what we uploaded here. We're done. I can just hit two options. I can go ahead and publish now or publish later. I forgot. Yeah, I can set a new release date. I can have it go live on a certain date, or I can just let it go live now. I'm going to let it go live now. And then they have a feature here so that if you did update the description, you can have it rewrite the ID3 tags based on the image you just uploaded and the tag. So it's always a good idea to, if you do update it, turn that on and then hit publish. Right, we're done. It takes a few minutes for it to kind of process internally on Libsyn's side or your hosting provider's side. And that's it. You have an episode live, well, very close to being live. In a few minutes, we'll be live on your site. So I'm going to do this really quick for 1 or 2 more episodes, just to show you. I'm going to show you a cool little trick down the road when adding it to your website. So I'm just going to quickly do this. And I'm going to say episode 1. Episode 1. And do this really quick. And thumbnail, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna just skip the thumbnail for now, for the rest of the episodes. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit publish this guy. All right, I'm gonna add one more just for fun. So I'm gonna add episode 2. It's always a good idea when you're launching a podcast to don't always, like, if you're going to start a new podcast, it's good to kind of have a queue of episodes lined up. Maybe either publish them right after each other, one day after the next, or you can just have 3 or 4 live when you submit your podcast to different directories like iTunes. It just gives people a chance to kind of listen to more content right away without having to listen to one episode and then wait for another week or 2 weeks before you make the next one. So it's a good idea to have 2 or 3, 4. Right, we just uploaded 3 episodes. So my podcast is going to be live with 3 episodes. Now, technically you're done. Like, you don't need to do anything else. Like, you have a podcast, so you want to go and take it to the world. Like, basically take it to different directories, and so people can actually subscribe to them. For example, iTunes is the biggest directory, and now Google Play is also one of the big directories. There's a ton of directories out there. I'm going to talk a little bit about that near the end here. But one thing that's really recommended is to have a chance, give people a chance to listen on your website. Like, if you have a website or you don't have a website, you should highly recommend you have a website that has your podcast. It doesn't have to be dedicated for podcasts, but if you have, you recommend it to have it on your website so people can listen. The non-technical people, the people who don't know what a podcast is, they don't want to go and download iTunes or open the podcast app, all that stuff that can be foreign to them. It might make sense to us, but it may be foreign to people outside the podcasting space. You want to somewhere where you can send them and say, hey, click here, go to this website, click play. That's it. It's very simple. It works on mobile, and it works on any device, any desktop, any phone, doesn't matter. So your website is kind of like your neutral zone it's friendly with all devices, and it will let consumers listen to your podcast without struggling and trying to figure out what a podcast is, first of all, and then how the heck do I listen to it. So I'm going to show you right now how to make a website from scratch. That sounds kind of crazy, but I'm going to make WordPress is one of the platform. So I'm going to do a WordPress site. I'm going to do it from scratch and then add the episodes to them, show you how to do that right now. So I'm going to post my podcast on my domain, handymora.com. I use HostGator. A lot of good hosting out there, but I'm a big fan of HostGator. So typically with HostGator, at least, you need to look for something called cPanel, which is it's basically short for control panel. And with HostGator, to make it easy, you go to your domain /cPanel, and it takes you to this page. You log in with your credentials, and you're kind of in the backside of your website. Now, don't be scared. We're not going to be doing any server stuff or complicated stuff. Literally, we're going to click a few buttons and we're going to have a WordPress site in about 5 minutes. Okay, so cPanel may look slightly different depending on who your hosting is, but you want to look for, typically it's called quick installs or one-click installs. So in here, right towards the bottom is the software services, quick install. I hit that. Then it's going to ask me. It's actually a nice looking screen. They've improved this over the past 6 months or so, or maybe a year or so. So what do you want to install? Blah, 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 blah. No, I want to install WordPress. Click WordPress. Very cool. It's slow because I'm doing my screen sharing, but normally it's a lot faster. Okay, it might try to sell you some stuff. You say, no, thank you. I just want to install WordPress, the free version. So WordPress is free to install. And then, I got a whole bunch of domains, but I'm going to install it on a brand new domain that's called podcast.handymora.com. And just going to put my email real quick. Just put a title and these podcasts. Again, this doesn't have to be a podcast website dedicated to your podcast. It could be your current website, and you definitely want to add. I'm going to show you a cool way to kind of filter your blogs and your podcast episodes to make them separate and easily accessible, so people can go to your podcast or go to your blog separately. That's it. I'm done. I'm going to say no, thank you, and this up here is doing its magic. And literally, like when I did this earlier today, it took maybe 5 minutes, not even, probably less than 2-3 minutes. It'll kick in. It's going to tell me that my website is done. So having a WordPress, oh, actually we're done. I didn't even have a chance to explain why the benefits of WordPress, but I'm going to go ahead. So I hope you guys don't steal my credentials here. So it's telling me your site's ready, and you can go and set it up. So to do that, you go to podcast.handymora.com. Your typical WordPress login, which is WP admin. And I'm going to log in with the username I just created and the password it just generated for me. I'm going to save that. Okay, so depending on your hosting provider, they might install some stuff, pre-install some plugins and themes for you. I personally don't like them. I'm just going to go in really quick and turn off a couple of plugins which are annoying. I'm going to deactivate this marketplace and deactivate this opt-in monster, which it's cool that it's installed, but I don't need it right now. So first thing you want to do a website is you want to add a theme. The theme is like a skin, right? It comes pre-installed typically with a couple themes. I don't recommend the default themes. There's a lot. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys which one's the best theme because there's a lot of great themes out there. But what I did find kind of preparing for this demo was I found this one called Zerif, Z-E-R-I-F. It's really cool. It's free. And so there's two ways to add a theme. You can just say add new. It'll give you a whole bunch of themes here. You can search or filter by favorites, popular, blah, blah, blah. You can spend hours. I'm warning you, you can spend hours just looking for themes because they all look good, but then they might all be missing one thing. Don't do that. Go with your gut feel. Go with one. You can always change your theme after. It's as simple as a few clicks, and so you can always change it after. So, after a year or so with the podcast, you can change your theme. Don't panic. Don't spend too much time. I know that feeling. I've been through it. So I just clicked upload. I downloaded the theme from a different website. It's called Zerif Lite. I'm gonna have all these notes, links, everything on my website, simplepodcastpress.com/podcastday. If you leave your name and email there, I'll get you all the details as soon as they're ready. So I just chose my Zarif.lite zip file, which is a theme that I liked, and hit install. This is a free theme, by the way. It's pretty cool. It's not perfect, but it's pretty cool. And I'm going to activate it. Okay. All right, so now, first thing you want to do, well, before you get started, like I'm just going to go ahead and visit my site just to see what it looks like. All right, so this is the theme. They kind of have all these cool stuff. It's got a menu on top. It's got like a home page, some features. You can customize the theme to make it look like, to remove these items that you don't want. But this section here is the latest news, which is basically your blog. And they give you a default post. So I'm going to go in here. And the first thing I want to do, first thing I like to do is, before you even start creating the episodes on your website, I like to do two things. I like to go in and go under the post categories and just make a new category called podcast. That way I can organize blog posts versus podcasts separately. So, and I have a category called podcast. There's nothing in it. I haven't done anything yet, but I just want to have that ready from now. The next thing you want to do is add a menu. So we notice there's a menu on the top right-hand side. I'm going to show you that again. So under the appearance menu, I can add a menu. Now, what I would like doing is adding a menu that only shows me my podcasts. So when someone comes to your site, they want to look at your videos, you can have a category for videos. They want to look at your listen to your podcast, they know where to go directly. They're not buried with your blog posts. So the easiest way to do that is to go add a category, say view all, and click on podcast and add this to the menu. So what this is telling us is I'm going to make a new category that's only going to show me podcasts. Sorry, a new menu item that's only going to show me podcast episodes. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this page because this is the default one that came up. So I'm going to have a home button and a podcast button for now. And this menu is called menu 1. I'm just going to go ahead and create this menu. Now, the next step you want to do is tell it that I want menu 1 that I just created to show up as my main menu for my website. This is all one-time things. You set it up once and you forget it. Now, if I go to my site, you're going to see podcast. You can call it whatever you want. You can say, listen to my podcast. You can change that name, no problem. So when I click on it, it's going to show me only my podcast episode, which I have none so far. So that's where we are now. We've got a podcast menu. We've got the category set up. Now we are ready to add our content. So there's a couple ways to do this. So there's the typical way is, the nice thing is most of these providers, Libsyn, the Blueberry, Spreaker, they all have their own players. And they give you the embed code so you can copy and paste that code onto your website. So I'm going to walk through that example. So under posts, I'm going to say add new. In WordPress, everything's called a post, in case you're pretty new to WordPress. So I'm going to say add a new post. I'm going to say episode 0, pre-show. And basically, you go in and you copy all this good stuff you did that you done earlier on. And when you upload your episode, you can take the same information and put it here again. And then you can decide where to put the player. So how do we get this? How do we get the player from Libsyn? You need to go under, I think it's under destinations, and no, not destinations. It's under, I'm drawing a blank here. Content, previously published. Yeah, previously published. There's a little icon that says it's like a link or embed. You click on that. It gives you a couple nice options for the player. You can choose the custom player, which is the newest player, and copy the code they give you. Then here, just one thing that you found, you need to switch from this visual tab to the text tab when you're dropping in the player. So I'm going to drop the player, let's say on top here. And I'm going to hit publish. All right, so let's have a look. So pretty quickly, pretty easily, I've added episode 0, took the artwork that I uploaded, added to the player, and there you go. I have episode 0 on my site, and I can go ahead and do the same thing for episode 1, episode 2, etc. Now, and then Spreaker, all the other, they're all very similar. They all give you the code to copy and embed onto your site. Now, one thing I want to show you is this tool that I created called Simple Podcast Press, and which, honestly, the whole premise was it was going to get you a chance to automate this step. So if I go ahead and delete those 2 episodes I just created. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me show you one thing. I'm going to restore episode 0 before I forget. So if you're doing this yourself, you want to make sure you do a quick edit, and then you just change the category to podcast. When you do that, it will, when you click the podcast episode, it will show up under podcast. So if you don't set the category to podcast, make sure you do, so that it keeps your posts organized. All right, so real quick, I'm going to trash this, empty all the posts, and show you a cool, one of the features that Simple Podcast Press can do to automate this for you. So if I go into plugin, Simple Podcast Press is a premium plugin. It's one of the sponsors for this event, so we do have a discount code, IPD25. We'll get you 25% off. It's a $47 per year plugin, and it's designed to save you a lot of time. So it's a podcast player and automation tool, and I'm going to show you exactly how it works. So I'm going to install this plugin. Say add new. I'm going to upload the plugin to Simple Podcast Press. That's the file. And while we're waiting, say install now. And activate the plugin. Now, first thing you do is going to ask you for your license key. I'm just going to quickly activate that. And activate. Okay. All right. So the whole idea here is I can tell the plugin where my podcast feed is. So I'm going to go grab it from Libsyn, and it's going to make the episodes for me automatically and add the player automatically. It comes bundled with its own player. So to get your feed, we haven't submitted to iTunes yet. So to get your feed, you get that under the destinations menu in Libsyn, or on Spreaker, or it supports any RSS feed, any podcast feed. And I'm going a little fast here because I'm noticing my time is going down, but you stick the podcast feed in here and you say continue. It takes a few seconds. It's going to crunch through your feed and kind of figure out what's going on. So it pulls in the episode art. So this is the right podcast you connected. So real quick, I'm going to tell it to automatically publish all my episodes. I'm going to tell every episode of my feed, make a post for me automatically. I want you to assign it to the podcast category automatically. And I'm going to want it to use there's a custom player. So I'm going to actually use a custom player because this theme's got like a reddish tint to it. And basically you're done. There's a couple buttons you can add. You don't need to do these, but I'm going to do them just so that it shows you, it gives you a better visual what the player looks like. But you can customize the look of the player, which you'll see in a second. And I'm going to hit this and save. Okay, now I'm going to say import. So I wanted to take in all my episodes. Oh, let's see. So while we were doing that, before I even got a chance to finish what I was doing, it actually imported all 3 episodes for us, as you can see here. So I went back to my post. There's already 3 drafts waiting. So it's actually faster than me clicking in and actually telling it to import manually. So what this plugin does, the cool thing is every time you publish a new episode anywhere, you don't have to log into your site anymore. It automatically creates these posts for you. So let me show you what they look like. I'm going to say, do a quick edit here and then change their status from draft to published real quick. And status published. Now, if we go to our site, and we go to the podcast page. Oh, okay. Because it did it too fast. Before I got a chance to set the category, it defaulted to the uncategorized. So let me just quickly update that. That's my fault. I was too slow doing the choosing the category and saving the settings. So real quick. So normally from now on, it's going to put everything in the podcast episode. So when episode 3 comes out, it's going to be automatically in the podcast episode. Now, if I go here, you're going to see all your episodes. And when you click through, you're going to have the player that comes in with it, some buttons. You can have email opt-in box. But the cool thing is, remember when initially we added those key takeaways in the beginning in Libsyn, they actually get carried through to here. So now when someone's clicking through here, they can actually jump around the audio and listen to different segments. If I can click on the 1 minute mark,
anytime you're
2 minute mark, 30-second mark.
in front of a
So you do the work once on your Libsyn and it pulls it all automatically here, and it actually takes advantage of the timestamps. Again, this is an optional thing. You can do it with any player. Create the post and add any player to your site, or Simple Podcast Press is one of the players. So now we got a podcast website. It's awesome. Now we get people to listen to it. Now the last thing is to get your product out. You get your feed distributed to the world, right? You want to put them in the big directories, right? Like, back in the day, you want to be on the yellow pages, but you want your podcast to be on the big podcast directories. And the two biggest ones that you definitely want to be on are iTunes and Google Play. So the link for iTunes is, if you go to podcastconnect.apple.com, you log in with your Apple ID, you get a screen like this. Yeah, you would paste your RSS feed, the one that we got from Libsyn, and you would validate it and submit it. I'm not going to do that because this is a test feed, but the process is fairly straightforward. And depending on time of season and who's looking at it, it may take days or weeks to get approved. Next, Google Play. It's a very similar idea. There's a whole bunch of different URLs, but the shortest one I found was g.co/podcast portal. We'll take you something similar here, ask you to add a podcast, and you would paste your RSS feed here as well. So, if you're just starting, get on iTunes for sure, get on Google Play, and then there's a really cool website that Daniel Lewis created called Podcast Places, and it's basically a really cool website that tells you all the different places you can submit your podcast and kind of walks you through a little bit of how to do it. So don't get overwhelmed. You don't need to do this now, but start with iTunes, start with Google Play, and start by having it on your website. And that is basically it. I'm going to turn my screen share off and come back to the screen here. Stop sharing. All right. Awesome. I'm back. It feels good to be back on camera. So yeah, so basically, just to recap, podcasting is not hard. It doesn't have to be hard. Start simple, create awesome content, upload it to a reliable service provider. There's a lot of them out there, the big names, a lot of the sponsors here. And then get it on your website, and then get it listed on the major directories. And then you go to town. You start promoting your podcast. You want to tell people that your podcast is available on your website. And then from your website, they can listen, they can subscribe if you have the buttons to subscribe. Get them on an email list. And yeah. So that's basically it. Get started. And just kind of part of the promotion here, we do have a discount code for Simple Podcast Press, the plugin you just saw. It's got a lot of features besides the player and the automation. You got a whole lot of features, URL shorteners. You got iTunes reviews built into your WordPress site. You can showcase them on your site. There's a whole bunch. I'm not here to sell that product, but it is the flagship product that I created a couple of years ago. And to go to simplepodcastpress.com, and if you use the discount code IPD25 or International Podcast Day, you will get 25% off the plugin. So I hope everyone found this useful. I'm happy to answer any questions. I kind of wanted to budget 10 minutes or so, and I think I'm right on time. So if anyone's got any questions, I have not been following the feed. I can see Daniel and Dave are doing an awesome job answering the questions, because I was literally in the screen share and I couldn't see what was going on. And oh yeah, I see Dave's comment. We look good together. You're making the cover art look good, Dave, not me. Awesome. Does anybody have any questions? Like published later message. Got it. Yeah, so I will, Dave. No worries. So I got 9 minutes to answer any questions or feedback or thoughts, or a lot of experts here that can contribute to this conversation. But to me, podcast day was building awareness. So I thought it'd be really cool to do this live, to show people that if I did a bunch of slides, people won't get how simple it can be. It's not. I'm not saying it's all bells and whistles. You know, audio editing can take time, of course. Different components take time, but as you get better, you're going to find different workflows. Dave's asking about the biggest hurdles. Depends. I've heard people getting started, like getting the website set up and looking the way they like it, was one hurdle. Booking guests, and then once you have a show, a lot of people want to grow their show. I think there's a talk later on. I might have missed it, or it's coming up later, about growing your audience. All right, Robert's asking, I missed where you went first to create a website. Okay, so creating a website, there's different types of websites, but what I showed is a WordPress site. So the way WordPress is free, but what you need to do is you want to get people, most hosting providers will give you what's called a one-click install for WordPress. So literally with one click, like you saw me do it, you can install WordPress on your site. So WordPress doesn't get installed on your machine, it gets installed on your web hosting, on your website. So there's something called a cPanel, control panel. So what I did was I went to my domain, hannymora.com/cPanel. Now, that may not be true for everybody, and depending on your hosting provider, but if you're not sure, ask your hosting provider, hey, do you guys have a one-click install of WordPress? Or ask them, how do I get to my cPanel or control panel? And then once you're in there, then you can click on, install WordPress, tell it which domain that you want to install it under, and the rest is history. It'll do it in minutes, literally. You saw it live here, like how fast it is. It's pretty amazing. No problem. That's a great question. I mean, there's more to WordPress. I just showed you how to install a theme and how to add episodes, whether manually or automatically. But there's a lot more to WordPress. You got to be concerned about security and that kind of stuff. There's plugins, there's tools. The thing about WordPress is there are a lot of tools, and honestly, don't be afraid to pay for tools that do a good job, like backup tools to back up your site automatically. That's one of the things that you probably want to end up paying for. The critical tasks like securing your website, backing up your website, don't be afraid to pay a little bit of money, because you're going to get support. You're going to get a solid product. Yeah. Sorry, IPD25. Daniel, if you don't mind, the discount code is IPD25. Handy Solo. I missed that. What's that? You guys are talking about me while I'm doing my demo? No, guys, this has been fun. It's been a lot of fun, and I appreciate this opportunity, and I appreciate you guys setting up this event. Yeah, thanks, Daniel. IPD25. Yeah, I appreciate you guys setting this event, and if you want to get a hold of me, you can look at me. If you go to Simple Podcast Press, you can. There's a contact form there. You can send an email, or if you go to hannymora.com. It's all good. I'm available on Facebook. Look me up if you have any questions or you have thoughts, ideas. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, I'm one of the sponsors. I'm happy to sponsor this event. It's a great event. It's amazing how we do this. You guys do this for 30 hours. as a whole team. It's just amazing. And I don't know, just a quick note about podcasters. Like, it's a very strong community, and I know by going to the conferences, I've met a lot of people, and it's just everyone's just so awesome. That's what makes podcasting kind of a great place to a great, like, this event like this just brings all these great people together. It's awesome. And I wanted to thank you guys, Dave and Steve, and I'm sure there's a lot more people behind the scenes that I'm missing, but you guys did a great job. And I'm sporting my podcast shirt. I love my red shirt. And yeah, I basically got 4 more minutes if anyone's got any more questions. Thank you, JD. I appreciate it. I'm sweating here because everything went smooth, so I was happy about that, but I was a little nervous, so I brought my armband in case I was break a sweat. Felt like I was going for a sprint. Yes, I came for a workout. Yes. Awesome, guys. If there's no more questions, I'm going to hand over the controls back to Dave because I took over their controls for me to do a screen share. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I think we're going to get we can get the replay at some point. Is that right, Dave? And I can share that as well for anybody. So if anybody, I'm going to compile all these different tools I talked about, all these links. If you go to simplepodcastpress.com/podcastday, scroll to the bottom, just leave your email there, and I'll email you a link to a page where we'll have all these resources we talked about. I'll even embed the replay as well if Dave lets me. So at simplepodcastpress.com/podcastday, and then you can leave your name and email on the bottom. And as soon as I have all the notes cleaned up, I'll get them to you with all the links, all the resources that I talked about in the demo. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, guys. I'm going to sign out. Happy International Podcast Day, and I hope Steve and Dave are surviving this 30-hour mission to bring education and awareness to podcasting.